Deleama Yeske Siri Ashnan Ovid Yama Yama.
Welcome to ParevTV. Today, joining us from faraway Israel is Arpi Shotigian, who was born in Israel, raised in Israel, and lives in Israel with a family. And we figured Arpi could guide us through the community, the Armenian community in Israel, tell us how they are spread out in the country and what is life like for the small community we have in Israel. Many a times, RP, when I talk about Middle East, friends do mention Lebanon, Syria, Egypt, Jordan, Turkey. They all bypass Israel. I guess many of them don't realize we have an Armenian community in Israel. Could you give us an overview of the community in Israel today?
Okay, first of all, thank you so much for having me in your show today. Just a little brief background about the Armenian minority in Israel and in the Palestinian territories. After the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, there was a lot of Armenians who left Israel to and immigrated to mainly North America, Canada, Australia, France, because they didn't really see themselves as part of this conflict, which was just happened between the Palestinians and Israelis. They never really took one side, either towards the Israelis or towards the Palestinians. So basically, there was a lot of mass immigration of Armenians. Before 1948, in the city of Tel Aviv, Jaffa, which is considered one city, there was about 20 to 30,000 Armenians. Today, there are about 250 families who live in Jaffa. However, in the early 90s, just after the fall of the former Soviet Union, there was a mass immigration of Armenians from the former Soviet Union to Israel. Today, there's a rough estimate that there's about 9,000 to 10,000 Armenians who have come to reside in Israel, in various parts of Israel. So this is basically the up-to-date figure that we have within Israel. In Jaffa, there are 250 families. In Haifa, also roughly the same amount of families. The big chunk of Armenians obviously live in the Armenian quarter in Jerusalem, but they too have seen, a rise and fall sort of on a graph. So Armenians in Jerusalem have also immigrated to different parts of the U.S. and North America.
You know, you speak about Armenians who came to Israel in the 1990s from Russia, from Armenia, let my people go. Many Jews came from Russia, and there were quite a few mixed marriages, and Armenians also. What is the relationship between those Armenians who have come from Russia in 1990s and the Armenians who were there from 1948 on? Is there a relationship?
Oh, yes. The Armenians who came from the former Soviet Union have established themselves here. They do visit the Armenian church in Jaffa. They're quite active in various events. Yes, I do see them, and they do see themselves as being integrated into the Armenian society that was present before their arrival, definitely.
I know the area is blessed with many churches, but in terms of school, in terms of cultural activities, in church, in terms of exposing the young generation to Armenian culture, is there any work being done there? And how do you maintain that our identity?
Um, we don't really have an Armenian school per se in Jaffa, Tel Aviv. There is a wonderful Armenian school in the Armenian Quarter, the Takmanchat school in the Armenian Quarter in Jerusalem, within the Armenian convent of St. James. But we don't have such a school outside of the Armenian Quarter. So there aren't any schools in Tel Aviv or Haifa or Nazareth or Akko. So the Armenians who live outside of the Armenian Quarter in Jerusalem basically teach their children Armenian through word of mouth, so to speak. And this is how I was taught Armenian. However, during my youth, my mother was the Armenian teacher in Friday school, we used to call it, rather than a Sunday school. Every Friday, we used to go to the Armenian church in Jaffa, and there was a room dedicated for Armenian studies once a week, and that's where we would learn to read and write Armenian.
Arpi, you're so eloquent, expressing yourself so beautifully in the English language. What other languages are you comfortable with? In what order is it?
I think English is my first language, and it's in parallel with Hebrew. So my Hebrew is very, very fluent, like my English. After that comes my Armenian and Arabic, sort of on the same level. So I speak Arabic as well, and as I speak a tiny bit of French as well.
That's amazing. 4 languages. Here we have problems teaching 1 language. You know, in terms of the language spoken at home, most of the Armenians, what is the language they use at home? Is it Armenian? Is it mixed with Hebrew? Is it mixed with Arabic? What is the language like?
So the Armenian families who live outside of Jerusalem, so that is in Tel Aviv, Jaffa, in Haifa, they mix Armenian with a little bit of Hebrew and a little bit of Arabic. The new generation, because they have integrated themselves into Hebrew schools, so the predominant language is obviously Hebrew. But Armenians in the West Bank or East Jerusalem, they tend to speak Armenian blended with Arabic.
In terms of the young generation serving in the army, I know in Israel, military service is compulsory. What about the Christian or minorities service in the army?
Right. So we don't really have an encouragement over here to serve in the Israeli IDF. There have been cases here and there of mostly boys being influenced by their peers to serve in the IDF, but these are very rare cases because we always try to categorize ourselves, and we are categorized as such as well. So it's a two-way street that we are neutral. We don't serve in the IDF, and we don't serve on any other panel. I mean, any other army, so to speak. So so we're not really part of the military service. I mean, very insignificant amount of mainly boys have chosen to serve, but it's definitely not a trend.
Arpi, what do you see the future of the Armenian community in Israel like?
I don't want to sound pessimistic. I do feel that the future for this particular minority within a minority within a minority is very brave. I mean, we are a very small and not so influential community. I mean, as we see, there's a lot of Armenians immigrating from Israel to other parts of the world. And this trend has begun in the early 60s and is still going on. And that is something that's been known, and it hasn't been really addressed formally by the community leaders in order to stop this migration. Also because a lot of people do it for private reasons. So yes, I do see that there would be a decline of Armenian presence in Israel. So the future doesn't look so bright. It actually looks quite bleak in my perspective.
Is there any relationship? Is there any travels backwards and forwards between Israel and Armenia? And how has Armenia changed life for the Armenians in Israel?
So that's a great question, because up until about 5-6 years ago, there weren't any direct flights to Armenia. Maybe more than that. But recently, I mean, this is a pre-COVID-19. There has been a direct flight to Armenia by Israeli Airlines, including the national airline, El Al. So that has opened up an ease of travel for Armenians to visit Armenia. And actually, there has been a surge of Armenians visiting Armenia actually a few times a year. Because it's a lovely place, it's our ancestral home, and it's quite cheap touristically to visit. So yes, that has opened up a travel route for many Armenians in Israel and the West Bank. So that's been great. Yeah.
Arpi, գիտեմ որ հայերենով գրնաս արտահայտվել եւ գիտեմ որ կային մոդի հոգիից սիրիդիտ հայկական երկերը եւ նվակը եւ գիտեմ որ դու պաստապանուի ես եւ նաեւ երկես եւ գնվակես ամենս որ ինչ է խոսքը հայերենով այդ մարդկանց որոնք քեզի գլսեն մի քիչ հայերենով խոսի
Գարձեմ որ հայերը որ Կուրսը գաբրին, պետք է գիտնան, որ բզդիգ կաղուտ մգա Իսրայելի մեջ, Բաղեստինի մեջ, և պետք է ավելի ջանչնան աս բզդիգ կաղուտը, այցելել, եկալ իրենց աչքով դեսնալ, հայոց եկեղեցին, հայոց հայերը որ ոս գաբրին և իրենց կաչալերել որ հոս մնան որովհետև շատ դժվար է իրենց հայերուն որ աս վիճակով շարունակեն իրենց հայությունը պաշտպանել
Շատ ճիշտ է ասածդ եւ գուսանք ավելի մարդիկ Արիթը ստեղծեն այցելել եւ ջանչնալ մանավանդ Երուսաղեմի հարստությունը, Բադրիարքարանի հարստությունը, Արփի քեզ ուրիշ հարցում հարցունեմ, գիտեմ շատ մի երկեր գսիրես, որն է ամենաշատ սիրած երկդ։
Ամենաշատ սիրած երկս Դելեամանն է, անշուշտ։ Երս շատ աղվոր երկեր, աս երկը։
Քաչություն ունիս երկելու մեզի։
Գարձեմ, եթե չեմ հիշած պարերը
Մեկ երկու նախատաստություն
Okay, ցայնս քիչ մխաշվել է, բայց կփորձեմ Դլեամա Ես քեզ սիրի Dashnan Hovin Yama Yama.
Arpi անգերս այս երկդ ավելի գարժեր կամ բոլոր խոսքերդ, որովհետև իսկապես գսկացունես այս հագական ոգին, որ մեջդ է, եւ գիտեմ շատ այլ երկեր գիտես, եւ փեմերու վրա երկած ես, եւ այդ գուզեի ծովը ժողովուրդն արիմանա թե թեև դժվար վիճակի մեջ է այդ հայությունը անչադված է, մեգուսացված է, սակայն հայկական ոգին ծեր մեջ գրագոդ է, այնպես որ ուրիշ խոսքը գա որ գուզեի իրնել
ուզեցի միայն հստակ բամը ասել, որ հոստերի նոր սերունդը գարձես թե պատրիոտիզմը մդեր է իրենց մեջը և շատ հայեր գա Երուսաղեմ ետրոնեն, որ Հայաստան գերտան և չանան, որ ավելի հայկական ոճով մեծնան բզդիկները և շատ չանք կտապեն, որ activities անել բզդիկներուն և Հայաստանի հետ գաբակցություն ունենալ և քանի մդարի է որ գտեսնամ որ շատ սրդով և շատ ուշխավոր գբադրաստվին և գարձեմ որ գհաճոին որ աս գաբակցությունը Հայաստանի հետ մնա. I think that the past few years there has been some sort of psychological rise of patriotism towards being an Armenian, towards Armenia itself as an independent and sovereign state. So I have noticed that a lot of youth, especially in Jerusalem, and I give my kudos to them, have done a lot in order for the Armenian youth to have this opportunity to witness various events in Armenian, to have the opportunity to visit Armenia, whether it be sending out delegations to Armenia from Jerusalem, on having people invited over as well here, whether it be musical bands or any other sort of media outputs. So that's been very comforting and exciting for me to see that the new generation is doing its utmost, I must say, it's doing its utmost to remain Armenian.
Arpi, there's a lot of talk in the news about annexation. It's a major event that may take place tomorrow, in fact. That's a magic date they have. Could you simplify the situation and explain to us what is this all about?
Okay, so in general terms, just a little briefing about what this whole thing means, and it's due to take place, scheduled to take place tomorrow, where Israel is planning to annex various parts of the West Bank to Israel. So basically, the West Bank is a chunk of land located, as the name suggests, on the west bank of the River Jordan and is bounded by Israel to the northwest and south, and it lies to the east. The east is the state of Jordan. So the West Bank was occupied and has been occupied by Israel since the 1967 war. And as you all know, there have been difficult talks on and off between Israel and the Palestinians because they both assert rights over this chunk of land. And therefore, the final status of this territory remains unresolved. Now, there are about 132 Israeli Jewish settlements within the West Bank, And these are the settlements that Israel is planning to annex if their plan goes forward tomorrow. And these settlements are basically located in bits and pieces of the West Bank, some sort of, I would call it some sort of Swiss cheese, where you have Israeli settlers living amongst Palestinian villages. Basically, if Israel were to annex these territories, and the number is being negotiated between the Americans and the Israelis, whether it would be 30% of the West Bank or 3%, so that's a big difference. This would mean that Israel would de facto have Israeli control over these settlements in full, leaving the two-state solution more of a two-state illusion kind of thing.
It is very complicated. I think many people have problems understanding the situation. But my question, based on what you just said, why not annex the whole West Bank?
Right. So that is something that would trigger a lot of controversy and violence from the Palestinians initially, and then it would flow over to the other Arab states in the Middle East. For over 20 years after the Oslo Accords in the early 90s, there has always been a dialogue which has been on and off about having a viable and sovereign Palestinian state, which hasn't materialized. And if this were to happen, then this so-called Palestinian state would, there would be no hopes of having a Palestinian state if this annexation were to take place tomorrow.
Arpi, thank you very, very much. We wish you the best, and we hope to connect with you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.